British East India Company fulfilled its financial and business needs. After observing the damaged political condition of India, wherein hundreds of princely rulers were competing with each other, British thought of taking advantage of the situation to increase their political power. So British came up with a divide and rule policy among the Indian rulers, and slowly became powerful and controlled all the rulers. They also applied war and negotiation methods cleverly to achieve complete control and power in India. Finally, after applying various smart ways, they took India under control and thought of holding the strong control on India permanently. After this, India was missing one nation concept and divided into various kingdoms. The British combined the administrative and political system of entire India. Many laws and administrative systems like education, judiciary, land taxes, trade, agriculture and other activities were taken under their control. This formed a new system in India. While fulfilling all these plans, they also protected their financial and business interests. Therefore, British East India Company achieved their own law and order in India. Civil services deals with managing and controlling of government services. In India, before the concept of civil service, East India Company was ruling India and followed the system of appointing employees for trade purpose and granted permission for private workers to trade. So, employers who were appointing these employees started making money in illegal ways. Along with this, started levying heavy land tax and import tax on goods exported from India. So, British government for the first time opposed misuse of power by East India Company through Regulation Act in 1773, which finally resulted in few policies to control East India Company. Once Lord Cornwallis arrived as the Governor General to India, he started Fort William College in Calcutta, encouraging people to join civil services. Since the concept of civil services started through Lord Cornwallis, he was called as the father of civil services of India. Later, the directors of the East India Company did not support him much on his projects. So, from 1853 onwards, the appointments for civil services were done through competitive examinations. And when Indians did not show expected results in the exams, Cornwallis got disappointed by the Indians and appointed Indians only for the lower level jobs. The judicial system is the court system where people can settle their conflicts or fights without breaking the law by the final decision given by the judge. So this judicial system slowly started when the British rule became powerful than the Mughal rule. After the Battle of Buxar, the Mughal ruler Shah Alam handed over the Diwani rights, that is, the power to collect taxes, to the British. Along with this, dual administration, also called as dual government, was applied in Bengal region. As per this concept, the British had the right to collect land taxes, whereas the Nawab had power over administrative issues like justice and others. So after applying this dual government concept, British planned to bring the more centralized judicial system in India. As a result, British authority became more powerful than the Mughal rulers and established their supremacy over India with the help of new judicial system by the British. Warren Hastings arrived to India as the Governor General in 1772. He prepared an administrative plan which includes two types of courts. These two courts were started in each district. So the first court was a civil court named a Diwani Adalat, and the second court was the criminal court named a Faujdari Adalat. In these civil courts, justice was given to Hindus as per Hindu scriptures and the Muslims as per Shariat. Scriptures are the sacred writings of a religious group like Bhagavad Gita for Hindus and Quran for Muslims. The entire functioning of this court was administered by the collector. Shariat is a religious law for Muslims, forming part of the Islamic tradition derived from the teachings of Islam like Quran and Hadith. Later, the British law were introduced in the criminal courts. However, civil courts came under the administration of European officers. Even though the criminal courts were controlled by Qadi, also called as Islamic judge, but they were managed by the European officers. The police are responsible of maintaining the law and order system. For the first time, Lord Cornwallis applied this police system in India. In 1770, there was severe drought, that is, poor rainfall led to shortage of water in many places, which made the law and order system weak. Therefore, the entire police system was taken under the control of British officers. So, British magistrates were appointed in 1781. Magistrate is the judge who handles minor cases or issues of people. Indians were not allowed to take the post of police officers and were given only lower grade jobs. Here, in 1902, the Police Commissioner Law granted permission to appoint people with suitable educational qualification for the post of police officers. Even after taking all these steps, partiality or discrimination against Indians continued for a long time. So now let us understand how the police system started in detail. During the pre-colonial period in India, that is, when the foreign officers like the British were ruling India, there were civil officers or judges assigned to maintain law and order. Under them were the Faujdars, who were district-level police officers who managed around 1,000 constables. Again under them were the Kotwals, who were managing towns under the district and were appointing police officers to help them. Zamindars were the landowners, where the British had given them the power to collect land taxes and act as police officers in the village. Under the Zamindars there were revenue collectors and chowkidars. Revenue collectors were collecting all the profits coming from the village and handed over to the district collectors, whereas chowkidars were responsible to arrest the criminals and maintain peace in the village. The zamindars became so powerful in the villages and started making a lot of illegal money by collecting heavy land taxes from farmers and other people. So in 1792, Cornwallis divided the districts to many thanas. Later, he removed the corrupted zamindars who were acting like a police and replaced them with police officers called darogas. Village and town level police officers also came under the control of darogas, who were the Indian police. Later, he introduced the post called Superintendent of Police, in short called as SP. So these SPs are the head of district level activities and supervise the inspectors or darogas working under them. The military was the main reason for control and administration of British rule in India. By appointing Indians for military, the British took entire India under their control. They protected their supremacy by dealing with the challenges faced by both the inside and outside armies with the help of the military. Here, again the British were appointed as the top officers, and Indians reached the rank of just Subedar. Subedar is the highest rank post given to the person working in the Indian army. It is equivalent to the British captain, but again he is under the control of the British. Most of the Indians were appointed as coolie soldiers, where their job was to take care of the wounded army people and to bury the dead. Later, based on the recommendations of Lord Peel in 1857, the British government agreed to change or redesign the military system. The East India Company had to pay 4 lakh pound, that is, in Indian rupees around 3 crore 38 lakhs 83,221 rupees to the British government for controlling Bengal region. So to pay this money, the company's position was supposed to be financially safe and strong. They did not have that much money. Therefore, they started applying many new land tax policies to collect money from the people. In 1793, Lord Cornwallis carried out a new land tax policy in Bengal and Bihar to get regular revenue every year. This land tax policy was called Permanent Zamindari System. Under this system, Zamindar or the landowner was expected to pay the agreed land taxes to the company on the informed date every year. By doing this, the Zamindar was free to collect any amount of land taxes from the farmers, and he can own the extra money collected from the farmers. Through this policy, Zamindars or the landowners started making more money. However, if the Zamindar fails to collect land taxes due to floods and famine and fails to pay the company, then the ownership of that particular land will be taken away by the company. This way, both the Zamindar and the company were earning huge money by the system. But the farmers were suffering heavily along with the farming workers due to irregular working chances in the farming lands. The workers and farmers were used heavily and they had the fear of danger and insecurity. Finally, the system extended to Bihar, Odisha, Andhra and later to Varanasi regions. According to the British administrator Charles Metcalfe, the Indian farmers were born in debt, lived in debt, and finally died in debt due to the land tax policies of the British. The East India Company made an agreement at the level of Mahal, also called as Taluk, related to payment of land tax in Uttar Pradesh and many parts of Madhya Pradesh, Punjab and Delhi. Mahalvari system was introduced under the government of William Bentinck in 1833 with the support of an economist called R.M. Bird and Holt Mackenzie, who started this system soon after the Regulation Act in 1822. And it was completed under the administration of British administrator James Thomson. This system was different from region to region, and the village heads called Lambardars were assigned to manage the land and collect land revenues. The company started fixing more land taxes higher than the production in the agriculture fields. So, Lambardars started making illegal money by collecting heavy land taxes from the farmers. Since the farmers had to pay the same amount of fixed land tax even when there were floods and famine, where the farmers cannot grow anything and are already under loss, farmers started taking loans from the money lenders to pay the land tax to the Lambardars. This way, even money lenders started making more money. Due to heavy rules, the marginal farmers, that is, those who own the land less than 1 hectare, and the agriculture laborers suffered heavily paying land taxes. Ryotvari system was a land revenue system and was first started in 1792 by Alexander Reed in Baramahal region. Later this policy was continued in Madras and Mysore region by Thomas Munro in 1801. By that time, most of these regions were already part of British Empire. Under the system, the tiller of the land, that is, the person who prepares the soil for the planting of crops, was considered as the owner of the land. Here, the owner had to pay 50% of produce as land tax to the company government. The land tax had 30 years contract where during this period, if conditions were not followed by the owner, the company government had the authority to take the property from the owner. After completion of 30 years, the taxes were examined by the company. Even though land ownership was given to the small farmers, they suffered due to heavy land taxes. The company officials took punishing actions to collect land taxes. Whenever the crops failed, the farmers had to borrow from the money lenders. Along with this, if they failed to repay the loans to the money lenders, they had to sell their lands. Though the company believed that this new system benefited farmers, the truth was that farmers lost their lands due to this policy. These land revenue systems mainly led to 6 outcomes. Firstly, a new group of zamindars who made the farmers overwork was created. Secondly, the farmers who were made to work heavily by zamindars lost all their land slowly. Thirdly, land became a commodity. That is, land became valuable where it was bought or sold commercially. So, loans can be taken by mortgaging the lands. Even zamindars had to mortgage their lands to pay land taxes whenever they failed to collect land taxes from the farmers. The agriculture sector entered into business category where they had to grow raw materials needed by industries in England. Lastly, since many people were taking loans, the money lenders became really strong. The traditional education of Indians existed for a long time. In the Middle Ages, during the rule of Muslim kings, few changes took place in the traditional Indian education system. During British rule in 18th century, new changes occurred as new schools were started for British and European children living in India, and these new schools were of no use to the locals. Warren Hastings, Governor General of India, helped in the expansion of the modern education in India. He started Calcutta Madrasa College in 1781. Along with this, Jonathan Duncan, a British superintendent, started Sanskrit College in Benares in 1792. However, Charles Grant is the person who worked hard for the universalization of British education, that is, to spread the British education in many places of India. The expansion of the British education in India received special support after the appointment of Lord William Bentinck in 1828 as the Governor General of India. Bentinck appointed Macaulay as the member of Governor General's Executive Committee. Macaulay was also appointed as the chairperson of the Committee on Education. The report on education submitted by him in 1835 became the base of the modern education in India. His policy aimed at the creation of a new class of Indians who are Indian by body but British in intelligence, opinion and taste. The use of English medium in Indian learning system started after 1830s. Later, establishment of universities was another major development in India. The Governor General Lord Dalhousie established universities in Calcutta, Bombay and Madras based on the recommendation of Charles Wood's Commission in 1854. After this, the education started to get universalized in India. The impact of British education in India mainly led to 6 outcomes. Firstly, Indians started developing modernity, secularism, that is, the philosophy of not believing in religion in the education and government system. Then democratic attitudes, which means to treat everyone equally. And rationality with nationalistic ideas, which means being loyal and finding reason to develop interest in others about the nation. Secondly, local literature and languages started taking place, which made many educated people to maintain unity in the way they think. Periodicals like magazines and newspapers were started, which helped in inspecting the government policies and to take proper decisions on many issues. We have seen people with the protesting boards fighting against government or others when the government makes changes in the culture or religion. These movements are called social and religious reforms. So here, lot of improvements in social and religious movements started to happen. Many philosophers like J.S. Mill, Rousseau and Montesquieu made Indian youth to think in a more matured way. Just like many other countries, even Indians started putting efforts to get freedom from others. Indians started appreciating rich tradition, that is, the improved tradition with many valuable reasons. This way, a new generation of Indians with improved thinking started because of the British education system in India. When the British government started to become powerful, at the same time problems also started growing in India. When Indians demanded reformation, that is, the improvement in the government system to solve many issues, British tried making different rules in the form of laws. These laws finally gave birth to the Constitution of India, introduced by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who is called the father of Indian Constitution. The Constitution is a set of rules and regulations made by the government. When the Diwani rights, that is, the right to collect taxes, was handed over to the British, the officers of East India Company misused the Diwani rights to make more money in a corrupted way, and company officials started becoming so rich. Since East India Company was mainly controlled by England government, many government officials in England had the fear of damage to their political system and reputation by these corrupted officials. Along with this, when the government was not reacting to the corruption of company officials, a British Parliament member called Edmund Burke started questioning against the corruption of East India Company and named this tax received by the British government from East India Company as criminal tax. Due to all these reasons, the Regulation Act took place in 1773 to control the corruption of the East India Company. The Regulation Act mainly led to 5 changes. Firstly, before the start of the Regulation Act, the 3 presidencies or main centres of the British government under British rule were Bengal, Madras and Bombay. But after applying the Regulation Act, Bengal became the main presidency of the British government, which took control over other 2 presidencies. Due to this, the Governor of Bengal became the Governor General of all the 3 presidencies, and he was given the authority to manage and control the other 2 presidencies. So after these changes, these 2 presidencies had no power to declare war on anyone or make any peace agreements without the permission of the Governor General of Bengal and Company Board of Directors. And it had only a little power to take decisions during emergency. In this act, Supreme Court of Judicature was established in Calcutta. This central court had 1 Chief Justice and 3 ordinary judges. Like this, The Regulation Act helped in controlling the company duties and its administration in India. After starting the Regulation Act of 1773, the England government, which was mainly controlling the East India Company, identified some corrections needed in this act. So, to solve these problems and to restrict the power of East India Company and British government, Pitt's India Act was introduced. In this act, Board of Controllers, including 6 commissioners, were introduced. Later, these Board of Controllers were replaced by the Board of Directors. These members had the power mainly to manage and control the problems related to land taxes, military and civil areas. Pitt's India Act also declared that the Indians have attained their paramount power in the name of the British Empire only, but not on their own, which means they said that Indians reach highest posts with the help of the British government and not by their own efforts, and finally started to restrict the political rights of Indians. They also declared that the places controlled by the East India Company were the areas ruled under the British government. Due to all these reasons, England government announced that they are finally the rulers of India. The 4 Charter Acts of 1793, 1813, 1833 and 1853 were mainly started to renew the license of the East India Company. Here, charter in simple can be said as the permission given in writing to the East India Company with the list of power they have to rule in India. Whenever these charters were applied once in 20 years, the new rules and regulations formed by British government was included in this act. Among these 4 Charter Acts, the important charters were 1813 and 1833 Acts. The Charter Act of 1813 granted license to the East India Company to work for another 20 years in India. Before this act, there was a huge demand for people to trade in India but had lot of restrictions. But after this act was started, people were granted permission to trade in India, which finally started a new era to trade in India. People got license and authority to trade easily. The Board of Directors of East India Company had the power to appoint the Governor General and Commander-in-Chief. Many churches were granted permission to start in India. The Christian missionaries were trained to improve the knowledge of Indians and respect religion by following morals of life. The Christian missionaries are the people who spread Christianity to others. By entering India, they also started spreading English education in India. The Charter Act of 1813 is said to be the historic act as it led to important developments in India. The main purpose of this act was to improve India. Even in this act, East India Company license to stay in India was renewed for next 20 years. This act mainly led to 7 changes. Firstly, the Governor General of Bengal was named as the Governor General of entire India. He had a power to manage and control all trades in India. All final decisions related to war, peace and diplomatic relationship with the princely states of India, that is, the states ruled by the Indian kings, was made by the central government of Bengal. If Governor General was not agreeing with executive committee members on some decisions, then he had the power to write a letter with the reasons for not agreeing with them. This act mainly helped in reducing the discrimination or partiality based on religion, birth and skin color. Governor General was responsible to appoint law professionals as a member to his executive committee. Also, all British companies were given permission to have trade relationship with India. Like this, the Charter Act of 1833 tried improving India with improved political conditions during 1830s. When Indians turned against East India Company during the Sepoy Mutiny Act in 1857 due to the corruption and for not respecting Indians, the power over India was transferred to British Queen Victoria from the East India Company. During this time, India Government Acts of 1858, 1861, 1892, 1909, 1919 and 1935 were started. Even this act became historically important due to the improvements done during all these acts. After the civil and military unrest, that is, when Indian soldiers and ordinary Indian people turned against East India Company through Sepoy Mutiny Act in 1857, the England Queen Victoria announced that Indian development from November 1st, 1858 will be taken care by British government. With this, Indian Government Act of 1858 made the following changes. Firstly, India came under the direct control under Queen Victoria and license issued to East India Company was cancelled. The Governor General post was changed to the post called Viceroy and Lord Canning became the first Viceroy of India. Also, a new post called Secretary of State for India was introduced in British government. This person was supposed to handle administration of India and belongs to the British cabinet. To assist the State Secretary, a Council of India was formed. This council had 15 members to help in administration activities of India. This important act was applied after the Sepoy Mutiny Act in 1857. Here, Indians were permitted to participate in the process of creating laws. A person speaking in a group and representing the other group members, also called representation, was given to Indians. This is also called as assertion. Now let us understand the important features of this act. Firstly, Indians were nominated as a non-official members for Council of Viceroys. Here, non-official members are the members nominated by Governor General but not working as government officials. Secondly, during emergency situations, Viceroy had the power to take ordinances, that is, important decisions with his authority. After the Indian Council Act of 1861, this Act of 1892 helped Indians to participate in the legislative bodies. Legislative bodies are the assembly to make laws in the city or state government. The ideas given by Congress system to improve British management helped in increasing the Indian representatives or leaders in the government. Now let us see the changes happened due to this act. Firstly, Indian legislative members were increased in the regional and central legislative system, that is, in the government legal assemblies called parliaments. The power of legislative council members was increased to decide on budget-related issues. Then, proper planning was done to discuss on public-related issues to the government by serving 6 days' notice in advance. Indian Councils Act of 1909 is also called as Minto-Morley Reformation Act. Here, focus was mainly on divide and rule policy in India. When planning and starting this act, Indian viceroys, namely Lord Minto and Lord Morley, were the Secretaries of State for India. Now let us see the main features of this act. Firstly, the total council members of the Central Legislative Assembly were increased from 16 to 60 members. Later, even the regional council members, that is, members in different parts of the state, were also increased in number. For the first time, elections started for the person representing the regional council. Muslims were given separate representation opportunity by creating separate electorate college. During the First World War, the active participation of Indians made the Secretary of State for India named Lord Montagu to argue supporting Indians to represent in elections for an administration role. In the beginning, he wanted Indians to participate to build the government slowly. Later, the Viceroy called Lord Chelmsford announced many improved changes supporting Indians to the British Parliament in 1917. This report submitted by Lord Chelmsford was accepted in this Indian Council Act of 1919. These are the reasons for this act, also called as Montagu-Chelmsford Reformation Act. Now let us understand some main features of this act. Firstly, bicameral legislative body is formed. This is the government system divided into two assemblies called the Upper House and the Lower House. Upper House includes British officials and the Lower House consists of Governor General of India, Indian officials and others. Both houses' decisions were taken to create laws. Secondly, diarchy system was present in the central government and was granted permission to start even in the regional governments. Diarchy is the double government system where under the provinces, first government consists of executive council members and the second government consists of Indian ministers chosen by the governor. Later, High Commissioner post was introduced in India. The local government was improved slowly. Budget for different parts of each state, that is to each provinces, was separated from the central budget. To participate in elections, the separate electoral college was first started for Muslims. Later, it was made available for Sikhs, Anglo-Indians and Europeans. The report submitted under the leadership of Motilal Nehru in 1928 mainly gave birth to this act. Also, this act played an important role in building the Indian constitution with proper laws and included responsible Indian officials in the government. The main factors of this act are, firstly, a federal system was applied where the central government is divided from the state government, where this act was followed by both princely states, that is the Indian principalities, as well as the British controlled regions. Before the establishment of the Supreme Court, the federal court was introduced in this act and had the power to handle both central and regional court cases. Diarchy, which is the double government system, was established in the central government by cancelling divided power granted at the regional levels of the states. Reserve Bank of India was also introduced in this act. Though these acts helped the British to some level, the ultimate benefits are taken by Indians. Because all these acts not only helped in building the Indian constitution and improved political conditions of India, but also developed leadership skills among Indians to manage and control the Indian government on their own.